We're talking some rather interesting news surrounding ESPN's response to WWE. Is WWE performing well on ESPN? Well, we got a major update there. Also, we're going to talk about an AEW debut that has been revealed and announced for this week. And we are going to talk about a new groundbreaking partnership between two professional wrestling companies. It's all coming up right here on The Ango Show. If you guys want more videos like this, don't forget to click that subscribe button and ring that bell. This way you never miss a video on the channel. I'm going to keep you guys updated along the way. I want to kick things off with the partnership, one that I find very fascinating. Ladies and gentlemen, CMLL and Stardom have revealed a partnership. That's right. It's been revealed, and this is obviously a big deal. There was an announcement made on CMLL Informa. And basically, Konosuke Uzui of Ladies Ring and Taro Okada of Stardom joined the show. Salvador Lutheroth and Okada officially confirmed the partnership between two of the promotions. And basically, they will be doing a talent exchange. Now, as you guys know, CMLL and Stardom are both partnered with AEW. But now the two promotions will work together and partner with each other as well. A press release went out today. Obviously, this is a relatively big deal. CMLL is an incredibly prestigious wrestling promotion in Mexico, as you guys know. And then, of course, you cannot forget about Stardom and all of their contributions that they have made to the professional wrestling industry. I think this is good. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what else to say other than I think it's a good thing. Partnerships are a good thing for professional wrestling, man. Look at what WWE and TNA are doing. You got to look at what AEW and New Japan are doing. Obviously, the more partnerships, the better. But the thing that I actually love most about partnerships is the fact that you could do talent exchanges. And talent exchanges are fun because it creates fresh matchups, fresh storylines, and you never really know what's going to happen. Obviously, Persephone is a great example of this. She had a fantastic match against Mercedes this year. And, you know, for AEW having that partnership with CMLL, yeah, I try to keep in touch with everything that's happening in professional wrestling. But obviously, I consume so much professional wrestling that it rather becomes difficult sometimes to keep up with it all. And because of partnerships, it allows you to get exposed to new talent and different talent, and it kind of puts talent on the radar. So, for example, when I watch Mercedes Moné and Persephone and Bozilla and, you know, Megan Bain and all of these different talents that come from different places, it's a very fun thing. It actually ends up being very beneficial to the companies too, because now you do have an influx of talent where maybe you didn't have that before. Especially when injuries happen and things of that nature, sometimes you got to call an audible. And so when you have that opportunity to work with another company, you are shaking things up a little bit. I, for one, actually think that's a really good thing in professional wrestling. And CMLL and Stardom, I think, you know, hopefully should have a good partnership. When you look at Stardom and some of the women that are performing there, give them the opportunity to go to Mexico. Give some of those women in Mexico an opportunity to go to Japan. And then, of course, you do have the partnerships with AEW. So now it feels like there's a little bit of an alliance being brewed, which is, I think, a good thing. I think that is a very, very good thing in professional wrestling. It is very clear WWE has their own partnerships. AEW has their own. And then some of those other companies working with each other even makes it better. Speaking of CMLL, that brings us to the next topic of today's video. A debut has been announced for AEW Collision this week. And this one should be rather interesting because today we are talking about Miss Olympia. Now, if you don't know who she is, she's a performer for CMLL. She is a second generation luchadora. She is the daughter of Al Valiente. And she has wrestled in Mexico City, for a couple years now. She debuted in 2020, maybe 2021. But now she's making her debut on AEW Collision. And as you guys can see, she obviously wears the mask. And you might be looking at her physique. Yes, she was a bodybuilder. That was her biggest dream profession. That's what she was doing. And now she is climbing the ranks of Lucha Libre. Obviously, this is a really big deal as AEW continues to introduce talent to their shows, but it's also a big deal because it continues AEW's partnerships with companies like CMLL. And obviously for AEW, introducing new talent like this, if they represent them well, if they book them well, it could lead to great things and bigger stories for the partnership, especially when you consider AEW doing cross-promotional pay-per-views with ROH, CMLL, Stardom, and New Japan. So Olympia is debuting in AEW. We don't know the specific plans. We don't know, we don't know exactly who it's going to be up against, but I actually don't think that matters either way. I think for AEW, you should be introducing new talent, especially when it comes to the women's division. The best thing you could do right now is the women's division is relatively stacked. You're starting to do more stories. You're starting to feature more talent. So I actually welcome the idea of having talent from other promotions debut, but now you can't just have them there for a random match, right? You got to have them involved in some sort of storylines or whatever it may be. So we're going to see, is this a one-off? Is this going to lead to a potential storyline? What exactly is the plan? Obviously, we'll find out on Collision when it airs. But for AEW, they were in San Antonio. The crowd reaction was relatively awesome. So I'm expecting this to be a relatively good debut. And, for somebody who just made their wrestling debut a few years ago, maybe this is a potential hint as to whether or not AEW could sign Olympia in the future. We don't want to see WWE and AEW signing everybody from the companies they're partnered with, but it is something that does happen, so we'll also have to pay attention to that. And that leads us to our final topic, ladies and gentlemen. Dave Meltzer is saying that ESPN is not too thrilled with WWE and on ESPN Unlimited. So Dave Meltzer was talking about this on the Wrestling Observer Radio. He says if every month ends up like this one, it's worth $35 million a year. Now, ESPN is spending $325 million a year for $35 million a year of revenue coming in from those WWE events, which is a bad number. Meltzer estimated that WrestlePalooza brought in 100 to 125,000 new subscribers. Now, Steven Muehlhausen, who works for DAZN, inquired about this, and in a statement from ESPN, they claim that things are going well and have started strong, but they also said we don't provide the viewership specifics, but things have been going well. Now, I have a feeling this is going to be very much like AEW on HBO Max, where the numbers are not actually made public. So I don't think ESPN is going to make this public either. And I think this is where things get really interesting, but also very fascinating, because you do have to wonder how much is WWE truly bringing to ESPN? How much value are they truly bringing to ESPN? And quite frankly, ESPN Unlimited, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, but I feel as if ESPN Unlimited is going to have a tough time gaining new customers. I think the price tag for it is relatively steep, and until they finish all those partnerships that allow for ESPN Unlimited to be accessible to all cable providers, then I think we're going to see a low subscription count. But also, you have to wonder, is Dave Meltzer being Dave Meltzer? Because for some reason, as of late, it seems like everything Dave Meltzer is talking about is so negative towards WWE, and then people in the industry are literally debunking it right away. So you don't know if this information is accurate. You don't know if it's really low viewership or not. But deep down inside, you do have to wonder where this all stems from. I don't anticipate ESPN having great viewership for any of the sports that they broadcast on their app. Just like I don't expect HBO Max to do the same thing with all their sports and AEW. There is a very, very weird thing happening in the space of streaming apps. And I want to be really clear on this. When it comes to these streaming apps, it is not that much more better than cable. All these streaming apps are expensive. The NBA is a perfect example. If you want to watch the NBA, you got to have Prime, Peacock, ESPN, all of these different apps, NBA League Pass, FanDuel Sports Network. it's got to be a lot easier to consume the content. And I don't think streaming does that. So while Dave Meltzer is getting debunked here, in some ways, I don't believe that WWE has that much of a pull. And I don't know. We'll obviously see what happens. But yeah, if ESPN is not making money from WWE, the truth is they're probably not going to keep WWE in the long run. That's just the reality. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for watching The Angle Show. I'll see you next time.